Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 179, November 17, 2023, your feminine nervous system healing, conception into motherhood support. What is the nervous system? What ways can you support a healthy and healing body and mind? How do you do quote unquote nervous system work? Can you heal? I feel like we've heard a lot about the nervous system, right? Now that we have social media, getting kind of deeper, we can read biology books, talk to people, maybe neuroscientists, doctors, other ways of learning, of course, through articles and podcasts. It's a great conversation to have. And I feel like the nervous system hot topic, or the trend, we can say, is a good trend. And yeah, I understand maybe some people aren't really experts in the nervous system work and can share things. But really there are a few people, and I will share like the founding books around somatic nervous system, psychological support and work, and what I've learned in my own education in somatic psychology and clinical psychology, and my master's in that education, and the learning that comes from it over the years, because it's not just about reading the books and understanding the biology, which is, can be a little confusing, a little heavy on the mind and the brain to take in. If you're highly science minded, maybe it'll just be easy. But for me, I find, I go back and forth with it, really trying to take it into my knowledge. But what I do know from this work is that I'm highly experiential person. And so it's really about the experience. And even any good somatic therapist, psychological, researcher is going to tell you, really, it's about your own experience in your body, because that's what you're going to really feel the connection to how to do nervous system work. And I'll share that as well. But I want to talk a little bit, when I say nervous system, what am I even talking about? And I have a definition here. It's not my definition. I took this off of the internet. Do people say internet anymore? Google, maybe, no, DuckDuckGo. In biology, the nervous system is the highly complex part of an animal that coordinates its actions and sensory information by transmitting signals to and from different parts of its body. The nervous system detects environmental changes that impact the body, then works in tandem with the endocrine system to respond to such events. So basically, the nervous system is made up of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. This is more of not my definition. It controls much of what you think and feel and what your body does. It allows you to do things like walk, speak, swallow, breathe, and learn. It also controls how the body reacts in an emergency. And so if you can just, I'm not going to get too scientific. There are different theories and ideas around the nervous system, and we can even just say it's the brain that is connected to the spine, and all these different neural networks and branches goes out into the body, and it connects with the eyes, the throat, the heart, the digestion, the lower digestion, the reproductive areas, organs, and all kinds of, sending signals and information to the body. And so that's why it makes it hard to map out, right? Sometimes it's hard to really understand it. And I do feel like the nervous system is highly connected to our past experiences, right? Past traumas. I mean, that's not my definition, but there's a truth to it, that we store information from trauma into our nervous system body, and not consciously, not on purpose. It's because it happens when we're in fight or flight or flee. Fight, fight, or flee. I feel like I'm missing one. Freeze. fight, flight, or flee, or freeze. So when our bodies are in reaction, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know. We don't know. We're in reaction with it. And people can say they would know, like if a bear came up running behind you, or you jump, or car careens and you jump out of the road, you may just freeze and not move. You may just jump and run, or you may want to attack. There's so many different reactions, but it's not a high level thinking cognitive action. So the nervous system, if you can just take a moment and see it as its own part of all the other systems, and that it moves to its own regulation or dysregulation. And so, when I'm sharing here that when we're breathing, our heart's beating, we're not thinking about making our heart beat. We're not thinking about our lungs breathing. And so, again, it's a part of our nervous system. And the two parts of the nervous system, just a little bit, excuse me, more biology, is central nervous system, CNS. It's the brain and spine, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS, which is the nerves that connect to the rest of the body. And so you can go and look at an anatomy picture, kind of get an awareness of what that is. And so your nervous system is really a part of you. And this is why, if we want our bodies to be healthy in any way, from emotional, physical, mental, is really nervous system work. And nervous system work, of course, can consist of so many different things, from breath work to yoga to body works to dancing to other creative somatic therapies, body-mind therapies. It's not just one thing. And I absolutely love, I remember Irene in her program, she shared, Irene Lyon, who I will share in just a moment, in her program, she shared that when you can get into really good space of embodiment on a nervous system level, that any meditation you do is way better. And she's had her past students share about that experience. And I thought that was really powerful, because it's not just about visualizing or meditating our way into whatever we need, but it's like really being embodied is a whole other part of meditation. And in my co-creation program, I actually teach some basic somatic practices to just get oriented to the space, to take it with you, to use on your conception into pregnancy journey. And they're very easy, some of them, I feel like. And then, of course, there are other things that will be more complex. And it really depends on you. If you have triggers and traumas in your body and experience, yes, you are going to feel a lot of different things happening in your body that are not meant to re-traumatize you, but meant to be to support your regulation, to support your nervous system. Wants to disperse trauma. It doesn't want to keep it forever. But a lot of us keep it forever. And then we end up in chronic pain and multiple body issues and emotional, mental fatigue and anxieties and depression, because the nervous system in most people is not regulated. And you can go your whole life in dysregulation. It will be a very hard life, and you'll multiply have so many stuff coming up and happening, and it can be quite emotionally, mentally draining, taxing, and it's not a way to live. It's not a way to live, I feel like. And it's harder when you have traumas from infancy and childhood, because you don't really know. You're just surviving. And that's where a lot of these diseases, I feel, come from. And that's what I've seen with my medical intuitive work. But also, sometimes it's before this lifetime. And it's not just even my words. There's a lot of different scientific insights and studies looking at how early foundational traumas create the health and wellness of where we are now. And the beauty of it is that, not that you're held back by this trauma and that your life's going to suck and, oh, well, we get to re-regulate ourselves into healing, right? You get to do the work now to then soften and release and feel. I feel like ultimately all people's really dreams is to be in safety and protection of your own body. And it's not a logical thought process. I don't feel like you can't think your way into safety and protection. If you were somebody that had, been assaulted emotionally, spiritually, mentally, even physically, doesn't have to be physically, then you have a different perception of your world and how you feel safe in your body and how you interact with everything around you. And it can be deeply subconscious and you may not even notice it. And I find it fascinating because Garba Mate, who is also someone else that does somatic trauma, kind of, he's an MD, neuroscientist, maybe even. I don't remember his credentials, but he's definitely speaks of this connection of our bodies and even the infant self. And he's spoken it out loud that our infant self is here. Like it's always interacting with us, especially if we've had a very difficult birth, being birthed into the world, or even the or childhood. And remember, the difficult childhood doesn't have to be some severe trauma of abuse, but it can be simple things. And I think simple's maybe not the best word, but even divorce or somebody passing away or moving, these things can create rifts in our nervous system and our molecular biological chemistry. And then what it does is then it changes the way the muscles work, the way the nerves and the blood flow, the way the immune system works. And then all of a sudden, people are walking around like feeling like they're sick and they're just blaming the food or the toxic environment, but it's more than that. And again, not minimizing toxic environments and, you know, toxic foods, but it's those are the layers that then make it harder. But really coming back, when our body is in regulation and really healing places, our body doesn't need to be sick. Things are flowing. There's circulation, there's something happening. And so remembering that, you know, that it's not just, it could be small things that then create this other new story. And what happens then in that, from my own perspective of working with people, is that it locks away in their energy system. It gets caught up in some old stories and fantasies. And then the body's just responding really to the environment that was. And I do feel like a lot of things are very much past energy, right? It's the past can really play into the present timeline of where we are. The feminine nervous system, I'm gonna kind of shift into that. And what does that mean? It's because a cycling woman has hormones, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and there's probably another one in there. But it's a working system, and the endocrine system, just like the nervous system, it is not one area. It's not like, oh, here's the heart. It's different parts. It's from in the brain into the into the uterus and ovaries and pineal gland, and I'm trying to think of different. I wasn't prepared to talk about endocrine organs, but you understand me. Adrenals, that's the one I was thinking of. And so there's different parts to the system, and those parts play a really big role in nervous system balancing. And some women can feel when their hormones are shifting, and it's not as the victim of hormones, because hormones will shift, I feel, in very emotional spaces. And I've done past episodes about anatomy and energy healing around ovaries and thyroid, because these organs are responding to the environment that they're in. And it's not just the organs of the vibration, but the frequency we're emitting and also receiving, and what our emotional space is. And that I feel like that emotional energy is really powerful. And who said it? It was Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion. She wrote this book, maybe it was like 20 years ago, but really showing the emotional chemistry of our bodies and the connection to this physical form that we are here all embodying in this time. And so your nervous system, remembering again, it encompasses so many parts of you. And now you're adding in that hormonal feminine connection to the nervous system and how that's going to play also in a connection to your healing. And maybe you're on a conception journey and you're trying to do all these things. I would actually really encourage people to look at nervous system work, because it's all encompassing. And I also feel like it's probably going to be the hardest thing to do. It's not easy, because if you have deeper levels of issues that have been buried through the nerves, through the very tingling, and the storylines are very much held You're not like, let's just get, yeah, let's just dump this, let's just pull it out. Your body is protecting, it's holding. You may even have tension around certain parts of your body and the muscles and the fascia because it's protection. Your body is just protecting you. It's not trying to hurt you. It's just, this is the beauty and intelligence of the organism of our being and our cells, and how we have a very strong energetic connection to who we are, and we can move into regulation, re-regulation, instead of living in dysfunction and just struggling. And we see this a lot more and more. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, right? Pretty much every other person I know has some kind of autoimmune diagnosis. And then how do you then come into regulation and balance with that? And honestly, besides releasing toxicities, of course, of what has been built over the years through environmental, but I feel like that becomes the only answer a lot of people go to, but it's deeper. It's deeper than the food and the supplements. It's deeper. And when you can get to that deeper, that's where all the freedom comes. That's where all the energy then releases and reshifts, that you can become safe and reconnected with your body for maybe even a rebirth. I would say even for the first time, maybe it's a new time. Makes me think of my own story, which I've shared many times throughout podcasts. I was literally born in dysregulation. And so born in dysregulation, what do I mean by that? And this is my term. I was a non-labored cesarean breech. So being a cesarean born means that you already have foundational trauma. I don't care if you make it the most beautiful cesarean you can ever have. And I even wrote a book, a 15-page manual, which I still think is available, called Sacred Cesarean, Sacred Entrances of the World. How do you minimize the trauma of cesarean births? And there's, of course, there's cesarean family-centered births and all ways to do that. And you can minimize as much as you can, but it's still trauma because it's not natural to be cut open and born out of the abdomen. It's just not. And I don't say that to judge people, but I also don't want to lie and just pretend that it's okay. And so that early foundation for me it was a big deal. And in that, I was also not labored, which is really hard for babies. If they're not labored, it's quite shocking. And then I'm breech, I'm feet first. So I'm like, how are we doing this? And then I came and born to a mother that had her own trauma that was very challenging to be grow with. And I, was sick a lot, multiple sicknesses, too much sickness, but it makes sense to my foundation and even to the work that I do today and to the energies that I connect with. And so it all makes sense. I really do feel like my biggest connection to love and energy for humanity is creating that sacred moments into life the best we can, and again, the best we can is the best, because in that timeline, that was the best that my mother could have done, right? And I do it different. And then I hope therefore that my children do it different as well. They do it better. I want them to do it better, as always. And so that's what I mean by, some, and maybe there wasn't any foundational trauma. Maybe your traumas came later. Remember, trauma is, can be small or big, or whatever the impact of energy is. It could be even as simple as the teacher yelled at me, and it just, for the rest of your life, it was like, and the teacher maybe was like, oh, I didn't yell at you, I was just using a loud voice. But it really depends on your own constitution, right? Your own makeup of energy, where your nervous system was already. Maybe there was already rifts in the system that then created another story, and that's something we don't talk about. Yes, your perception of your reality can create whatever story it wants. And so that's powerful. And it just shows you, if we can do that, then we can heal. We can heal. We have the innate ability inside us. It is in a frequency. It's encoded in us. We know how to heal. And sometimes we need help to heal from other energies, whether it's physical or energetic frequency medicines, which are literally just so profound and powerful more and more now, between the sounds that they're doing out there and just sending different frequencies into people's bodies that literally heal them like instantly. Like there's no waiting, or it's just the intelligence, our accelerated consciousness is there. When you're questioning, yeah, how do you move into a nervous system of regulation? And as I said earlier, of course, there's many different ways to do that, but maybe even I'm going to share a little bit I got from another site here is what is nervous system regulation? And like, what does that term mean? And why, it's important too. Nervous system regulation is a cascade of physiological responses our nervous system makes to reduce heightened states of arousal and increase states of calmness during times of stress. So, in practice, we often use the concept to describe downstream effects of changes in physiology on our behavior, social interactions, mental health, and learning. So, think about that. So, you're in different states of arousal and calmness during times of distress, right? You may feel it physiologically. Your heart beats, you get sweaty, your mouth dries. That's one of the, a natural response to um, hopefully re-regulation, or just a response. Your body responds to your environment and your experience. And sometimes, remember, this is where it gets tricky, because remember, let's say you're in your home and you're safe and everything's fine, but your body is still in arousal. Then that's where there's an issue. There's a lock in the nervous system in the storyline that then has to unwind. So then you can be calm. And this reminds me of women with adrenal fatigue. Adrenal fatigue isn't just this physical thing. I'm going to sleep all day and I'm fine. It doesn't happen because energetically, when the adrenals are very pumped up, whether it's through medication or through trauma, they're not going to settle down. And women are, most women I see, they could be quite exhausted. And so the storylines and the nervous system has to be re-regulated through the adrenals. And there are different exercises and ways to do that. And so more here, so that's regulation. Dysregulation in a dysregulated state, our sympathetic and parasympathetic systems are imbalanced. We feel we are at limit and affects our own affects our own ability to problem solve, make rational decisions, and engage in positivity with others. Interesting, right? We can look at even dysregulation. What were some of the examples of dysregulation? Chronic pain, emotional issues, migraines, concentration issues, agitation, moodiness, insomnia, sweating, nausea, indigestion, anxiety, racing heart, and so on and so on. And so I almost feel like maybe even that list you've been there, I've been there. I was in chronic pain on and off after a major trauma in my world happened, like multiple traumas. And I knew, my mind knew that there was a connection, but it didn't mean my body was going to heal. Sometimes us knowing the information doesn't change it, because I needed to unwind. I needed to be present. I needed to get more one-on-one work, is what I felt, because the diets, the fastings and things weren't enough. The inflammation was still there. It wasn't enough. And so actually, when I did light therapy through this patch technology, it allowed me to move into more emotional, calmer cortisol spaces, that then I began to see the deeper story. And I was like, and it seems so simple. I was like, why couldn't I get there? But when I calmed, my nervous system felt safe and calm. It was like, let's let this come out. Let's let it expel. Let's birth it. Let's birth this part that's holding you in this space of pain in your heart and body. And then I was able to do it. And this is why I want to, and I do continue to support women to birth out, not just to receive their children, their new earth children into their womb, into pregnancy, but also create a lifestyle of nervous system awareness and how to move into self-regulation, even with the support of energy psychology. It's like, I feel like we are our own inner intuitives. We are our own authorities on what we're kind of learning and what we're using internally and externally to create that healing and wellness. And so there's so many things to continue to expand in as you are a feminine being with a nervous system that's going to work in a different way. And there's a lot to learn. It's not, I know this is just a little bit of insight to give you, but I want to give you some some names that you've probably have heard. These are basic books. I feel like I've only maybe like 3 different books. There's so many books in the somatic psychology realms, and most of them are written by men, is what I noticed. But there's, I'm not seeing many on women, or they're not really shared. And the ones on women, I do actually have a few on my bookshelf. And so the ones that I come up here that are more, these I think most people know. Peter Levine, right? Somatic experiencing, great, form of therapy or support that he created. And his really well-known book is An Unspoken Voice: How the Body Releases Trauma and Restores Goodness. And we know there's another book called The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, Body, and the Healing of Trauma. And that's Bessel van der Kolk. Bessel, I don't know if I said that name right. And then Garba Mate, When the Body Says No, another book. And these are really great books to read, and they can be very guiding and helpful, or even these different people. Also, I really fell in love with Irene Lyon, nervous system expert, master somatic practitioner, and Feldenkrais, and she does programs, and she offers biology and experience. So you get to get 2 parts and learn about it, learn about your nervous system, and get more like grounded in. And then another woman, she talks a lot more. I've never heard anyone talk about it this way. Is about the feminine nervous system, was Kimberly Ann Johnson. And she has her book, Call of the Wild: How We Heal Trauma, Awaken Our Own Power, and Use It for Good. And I have not read her book yet. I do have her other book, Reckoning, that she collaborated with Stephen Jenkinson. And I was able to be on a platform with her, which was fun, with a few of us, about postpartum healing and what that meant. And I really want to promote more of the feminine nervous system, and the females feels really important in this time that are talking about nervous system work, and what that means, and how to re-regulate and move into supporting our children. Because if you are living in dysregulation and everything is so stressful or mildly stressful, and then you move into having your baby and child, and if you're not regulated, your child's not going to be regulated. And that could be scary, because you will see it. Your child will have a hard time for many years, because they're just taking on the nervous system of you. And I know I was born into dysregulation. So it was a very hard re-regulating journey that took many layers and layers and layers and layers, and where my own frequency was willing to go to unwind and release these parts of myself, to then experience that these old traumas and parts are just stories now. They're not excited with energy. I don't need them to be that way. I get to witness them in that way. And I feel that is really powerful for myself, but also for others. And so if you are questioning your nervous system now, you're good. You should, see where it's at, see what you need, and how to come into the ease of your body. I love the ease. I've gone so deep into the ease of my own body. And my sister-in-law the other day said, made a comment about, we were out looking at the turtles and having tea. She said, "You're so social," because I ended up talking to people, and I looked at her and I says, "That's because I feel safe enough in my body. I don't have to scan the room. I don't have to read everybody's energy, and it's taken me a long time to get there, but I didn't know it was a trauma safety response, that I could be in my own body. I still feel and see everybody, but I don't have to do it for survival. That's a big difference." And so I felt really proud. I felt like I'm in my body. I don't have to see what everybody else is doing and what their experience is. And that feels really amazing. It feels like a celebration to me. And so, whatever you're doing, keep re-regulating, finding your way in conception. If you're doing intervention, that will dysregulate you, come back to regulation. If you're in pregnancy, could dysregulate you, come back to regulation. And then postpartum can be very dysregulating, come back to regulation. And let it be an ebb and flow of a journey of that you're just unwinding, you're showing up to the ease and the peacefulness that you're meant to be a part of. And I hold that for everybody, not just women, men as well, and children. And so I'm going to leave you with this. Keep connection, keep your body's awareness, get embodied. and see where the journey takes you, and reach out for help if you need it. And as I share that, I have just unlocked sounds so mysterious. I actually have just offered, I don't think I've shared it publicly, is it's actually something I felt really strong about for quite some time. And if you're questioning how to move into regulation or do some more deeper embodiment practices, I am on a whim starting, I say on a whim because I'm starting it probably really early, but December 8th, every month for 6 months. It's called Practices of Embodiment, a woman's space for ease, gentle opening, and soma healing. So it's 6 months of embodied living as a woman of creativity, power, and remembrance. And so it's really about, if you want to get embodied, you forgot who you are, what am I doing, how to come back to yourself, where are your creative energies? And it is through the feminine, biological, and experiential connections. And so each month is connected. I have the mind of a star, earth is my body, sacred self pelvis, sun is my heart, the feminine moon, roots under my feet. And in these 6 months, in the first month we meet twice, it is sacred space for women, whether you are in conception or not in conception. And you're just wanting that monthly connection, that practice to sit in the frequency of others' embodiments so you can develop your own authority, self-guidance, awareness, and how to resource yourself and track your energy and sensations. And so if that calls to you, spiritbabymedium@gmail.com. Keep an eye on Instagram at spiritbabymedium. It's not on my website. Again, this is a calling for the feminine beings that have their beautiful grounding system that just needs a little bit more love and connection. And I am here to support that. And so I want to thank you for joining your feminine nervous system healing, conception into motherhood. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.